the keys are to the glory days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback podcast time. Welcome to the show, everyone. So the 49ers get a big win against the New York Football Giants. But they look like they may have suffered another injury. Unfortunately, I don't know if anyone has seen the reports, but it is feared that Mikael Williams has an ACL injury. Kyle Shanahan said they are going to do an MRI tomorrow to kind of try to rule out the potential of it being an ACL. But unfortunately, the big win for the 49ers, 34-24 over the New York Giants, a little bit marred by another injury to an edge rusher, and in this case, a young rookie player. So this is a tough one, but let's celebrate the good, and let's celebrate what the 49ers were able to do on the offensive side of the football, moving the football on the ground with Christian McCaffrey and with Brian Robinson. It was a really good game to see them get going. Mac Jones was very effective early in this game, completing pretty much everything that he was throwing. It was a good game plan, and they took advantage of a weakened New York Giants secondary, and they really executed well. We've seen Jawan Jennings get involved early. We've seen him get a touchdown. Christian McCaffrey doing what Christian McCaffrey does. And so those are some of the big things that happened in this game, and it was a big win. 49ers improved to 6-3 on the season, and they put themselves in prime position to continue their playoff hopes. They are 3-0 in the division, and it was another conference win for the San Francisco 49ers. So that's the good news. The good news is the 49ers went in and took care of business. That's what we're going to focus on, even though it could be less than great news with Mikael Williams tomorrow. But we'll see what happens there. There is a situation where the 49ers probably are going to be looking around again, trying to see if they can find some more players. But thanks everyone for coming through. I see a lot of people in chat, and I really appreciate everyone that's jumped in, from David, he's talking about Mikael Williams, Lou's in the house. We got a lot of good people in here in the chat. So I'm thankful for everybody coming through. Josh as well in the house. Joe, how's it going? And, Joe had said the 49ers were going to go over 30 for the first time this season, and it happened. So they've definitely been doing that. And David Morazzo brings up this. He said, hey, it's really good. Oh, I clicked on the wrong one. It's good to have Burford back. And I thought that Spencer Burford did a good job. And, of course, the All-22 film is going to tell the complete story. But I did. I thought that overall it felt like it was a little bit more comfortable from that left side. And it's not like it was going to be an easy task having to deal with Dexter Lawrence sometimes. But, here the 49ers are, and they've made it through a lot of games with Connor Kobe at left guard. And then now they got Burford back, and they could have Ben Bartch back next week. Now, what do you do then? Do you go back to Ben Bartch? Do you stay with Spencer Burford? Do you maybe rotate him? I definitely think it's something interesting with those two guys and what they could do on this offensive line. But it was nice to have those guys come back or have those guys working back. The 49ers definitely need that for sure. Now, before we move on, please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you're listening to audio platform, 49ers Cutback on Believe Network, please give it a 5-star rating. This episode brought to you by FanDuel, the title sponsor of 49ers Cutback. And it's just frustrating. I get it. Every single time there's the injuries, and it always happens. This time at the end of the game, unfortunately for Mikael Williams, he's right there to get a sack on Jackson Dart. And it was just a freak thing. Of course, we know with that MetLife turf, anything could happen. We saw George Kittle go down earlier in the game, and luckily he was able to get up and come back. But it's always one of those things that's definitely tough to see. But when you look at what the 49ers were able to do in this game, they really did pretty much dominate this game. When you look at their third down effectiveness, they were 6 of 11. So over 50% on third down. That has been a trend for the 49ers, especially in wins, that they're going to do that. Fourth down, I thought that was a big fourth down call for Kyle Shanahan on the opening drive. You got to go get the first down, and they did it. I thought that was a big call in the game as well. It led to a Christian McCaffrey touchdown as the 49ers continued to be very effective in the red zone again, as they went 4 of 5 inside the red zone. One time not getting the touchdown actually stopped a streak where they were 6 of 6 over their last 6 opportunities. They have been really good in the red zone. So we're seeing the 49ers start to do some of the things that they've done in the past, things that they've been able to be effective with third downs, effectiveness inside the red zone. It just keeps getting better and better. They went for 380 yards in this game. One of the biggest factors had to be the run game, where the 49ers got 39 attempts. I thought they were going to go around 35, but they finished this game off with 39 attempts at a 4.1 average and 159 yards on the ground. It was a very effective run game for the San Francisco 49ers. And, a lot of people in chat are talking about Brian Robinson, and I thought Brian Robinson looked very effective in his touches that he had. He only had 5 carries, but he had 53 yards and a 10.6 average, including that 18-yard touchdown run. The good news for the 49ers, they had Christian McCaffrey go over 100 yards in this game. He had a touchdown, and he had a 16-yard carry. So 2 pretty explosive runs for the 49ers in the run game, and that's more reminiscent of what we've seen from this 49ers offense in the past. So pretty good stuff from the 49ers running attack, led by Christian McCaffrey and Brian Robinson, and they were very effective. And then you look at Mac Jones, and he continued to be effective as well. 19 of 24. He did have the fumble, right? I know Brian Burns really smoked Colt McKivitz, and if you watch my videos about, some of the key matchups or the game preview, that was one of my concerns was Brian Burns versus Colt McKivitz, and it reared its ugly head in this one as he turned over the ball. Luckily for the 49ers, Graham Gano missed the field goal, or that could have been huge, but, it was just an effective, efficient game from Mac Jones. 19 of 24, 235 yards, nearly 10-yard average at 9.8, and then 2 touchdowns. It was extremely effective. And you saw the wide receivers kind of be effective. It wasn't a great performance, but I thought Juwan Jennings looked good in this one. I meant overall for the wide receivers. I thought Juwan Jennings looked pretty great. 4 for 41. The touchdown that he had. Kendrick Bourne added 2 catches for 34 yards. Kittle had 4 for 32. I thought Sky Moore's 21-yard catch was impressive. Jordan Watkins got his first catch of his career, 1 for 19. So there was some stuff definitely happening there. So that was good to see, was these guys stepping up and making some plays. And, Josh says this, still overusing Christian McCaffrey through 9 weeks, in my opinion. Well, let's look at what he did as far as touches. He had 5 catches, and he had 28 carries. He had 33 times that he touched the ball in this game. Yeah, that might be a little bit too much. I think, they could go to Brian Robinson a little bit more. Right now, they're still leaning on McCaffrey very heavily, and he's still producing at a very high level. But yeah, maybe they should, maybe they should back off Christian McCaffrey. I do think that this was a very pivotal game, and I think that when you saw the way that they called the game, that was exactly what they knew they had to win. So they called the game effectively to make sure that was the case, that they were going to win this game. 6-3 was a must with the Rams next week. You got a big divisional matchup with the Los Angeles Rams. You needed to come off a big win against the Giants. 6-3 is a lot different than 5-4 as far as positioning. And then you see, some of the things that happened, the Packers losing, some of the things that happened around the conference, and the 49ers are right back in the mix positioning wise of where they want to be in the playoff hunt. So it was a really good opportunity for the 49ers, and I thought that they took advantage of it. And I like this from Robert. He says, some complimentary football all around. Defense got time off the field this week. It was. And we knew this is exactly what had to happen, right? One of the things I called for when I was doing my bold predictions, my Wow, That's Bold predictions, was the 49ers to win the time of possession, to go over 50% on third down and over 50% in the red zone. 50% over 50% in the red zone, check. Over 50% on third down, check. Time of possession, check. In fact, they went 33 minutes with the ball to the Giants 26-49. It wasn't like a big overwhelming difference, but big enough, like Robert said, to give the opportunity to the defense to get a blow on the sidelines and get some rest, and that way they could kind of come in the game late and do their thing. And they did get some stops in this game. It was definitely needed. We saw special teams show up too. Brian Robinson with a really nice return. Eddie Pinheiro continues to be on point as far as executing and getting field goals, extra points. 2 plus 50s in this one for Eddie Pinheiro. He continues to be really good. So 49ers special teams been a lot better. Even their coverage teams have been a lot better. So yeah, complementary football, definitely comes into play when you're talking 49ers, and that's how they have to play. David Harmon comes in and says Mikel might have torn his ACL. That is correct. That was a report from Kyle Shanahan. They fear it could be a torn ACL. The MRI is going to be, the telling sign, and that's going to happen tomorrow. And that's frustrating because felt like, even though Mikel Williams hasn't really done a lot when it comes to numbers in production, he's been a consistent. He's played the run really tough. And when he's had the opportunity to get after the quarterback with guys around him, he's been good. Even in this game, it wasn't like the numbers were showing up. He really only had one tackle in this game, but he's a guy that's definitely been able to make some plays. It was some of the other guys that were able to get the sacks. Now, Mikel Williams got hurt in a play. He almost got a sack, but it was nice to see Sam Okuwanu get a big sack as he comes off he got banged up last week. Cleveland Farrell, welcome back to San Francisco. He gets a sack in a crushing hit. That was a huge hit on Jackson Dart by Cleveland Farrell. So that was nice to see. So a couple of sacks for the 49ers, one from Cleveland Farrell, one from Sam Okuwanu. And it was kind of a quiet game for the 49ers, new guy as he was trying to get figured into this. So Keon White really didn't make any plays. The first drive, he had an opportunity at a sack, and he fell, lost his feet, went to the ground. But what we saw from the defensive line was more pressure in this game, it felt, than they got against the Houston Texans. And it was nice having Cleveland Farrell and Sam Okuwanu able to present pressure. And when you get a matchup that you got to take advantage of, like Sam Okuwanu against Marcus Bowe, the young rookie at right tackle, you got to win. And Okuwanu got him. And there was plenty of times they pressured Jackson Dart in this game. You got to give credit to Jackson Dart. He was able to escape the pocket. He was able to extend plays and run. We talked about this being one of those things that was going to be a little bit of a problem for the 49ers defense. And the good news is next week, Bryce Huff comes back. And so you are going to get more speed off the edge. But what does this mean now if Mikel Williams is going to be on the shelf for the season or even longer? We'll see. There is a chance that you have to add Cleveland Farrell to the active roster, or John Lynch needs to go make a move. And I think that has been one of the big conversations, especially today, was the amount of guys who are going to be available. And the 49ers are being super active in the trade market, according to Jay Glazer. And so this is a time where, once again, 49ers, Yetur Gross-Mato goes on IR. Mikel Williams could be headed that direction as well. I think even if it's not an ACL, I think you are still expecting Mikel Williams to miss some time. So 49ers are trying to put it together at defensive end. It's been really tough this season. That's a position they continue to have some injuries. But on defense, one guy I do want to talk about is Tatum Bethune. He continues to be just an excellent player. And he had 16 tackles in this game, 8 of them solo, but he was everywhere. I mean, he was literally everywhere. And I thought that Tatum Bethune had a really good game. And I think what I like about him probably the most is the fact that when he delivers contact, he hits hard. He hits really physical. He hits really hard. And I love seeing him do that. Now, I want to tell you guys about FanDuel real quick. If you were going to bet with FanDuel. There are all kinds of player props, lots of exciting things that are going on. You can bet on the game that's going to be coming up tonight. The Seattle Seahawks are favored in Washington by 2.5, and the over-under is 48.5. So if you're going to bet with FanDuel. Now, back to the game, because I think there's plenty of other things to look at. And one of those things is how balanced the 49ers offense was in this matchup. When you look at what Mac Jones did through the air, nearly 235 yards is what he threw for. They rushed the ball for 159 yards. This is where you're finding that balance. I talk about it all the time. You want to get to around 400 yards of offense, and you want 250 of it to come through the air and about 150 of it to come on the ground. 49ers basically almost did that. 159 on the ground, 235 in the air. It was a tremendous performance from the San Francisco 49ers offense. And this is what they need to do. The defense is going to get you some stops, but with there being lack of pass rush, missing Bryce Huff, missing some of those guys, missing Fred Warner, you're going to have guys who step up on the offensive side of the ball and score, because the defense is going to have times where they're going to give up some opportunities and some extra scores they probably wouldn't have early in the season when this defense was full strength. So that's something to definitely look at as this season goes on. And as they go into some of these tough games, they got a couple of divisional games coming up. They got the Rams coming up soon. They got next week. They've got Arizona Cardinals coming up. Those are going to be pivotal. If the 49ers are able to knock off the Rams and Cardinals, it's a wrap. They're going to win the NFC West. I know the Seattle Seahawks are there, but the likelihood is they split with the Rams, and so you have an opportunity to really win. So there are some cool things about what happened in with this game and getting the 49ers in a situation where they're 6-3, because that means you're in the mix. You're in the mix. You are involved in all the trade talks, and the trade deadline is next week. November 4th is the trade deadline. The 49ers are definitely going to be in on making some sort of a move. Now, what kind of move is that going to be, I think, is a big question, but we'll see. And, they still have players to come back, and I think that's going to play a big part in it as well, right? The offensive line's going to get a little bit more healthy with Barch and Burford. Burford was a welcomed addition this week, and so you don't really have to add on the offensive line, I don't believe. As far as, I'm not saying that if you could find an upgrade, you wouldn't do it, but you don't have to trade laterally. Like, you don't need to just add people because you need depth or you need help over Connor Kobe. You're going to get those guys in. When you look at the wide receiver room, they've got enough weapons to be able to produce at wide receiver, and they still have Brandon Ayuk. Is his practice window going to be open this week? I think that's another big conversation point that's going to come up. It's going to be opened up probably in the next week or two as Ayuk tries to ramp up for a playoff push and a playoff run. So that's going to happen on offense. So I don't know if the trade happens on offense. To me, that doesn't really seem like the spot. The question is going to be defense. Can you find another defensive edge rusher potentially out there? We know that they've called about Trey Hendrickson. We know they've called about Jalen Phillips. Those all make sense. I'm sure Jermaine Johnson, is another guy that they're interested with the Jets, but you don't want to get into bidding war if you're the 49ers. And so I think this is one of those opportunities where you're kind of just sitting back and you're going to wait and see what comes to you. And if you get the right opportunity, you're going to make it. But I think the 49ers could definitely use some help on defensive line, whether that's an interior defensive lineman. I definitely think they could add on the interior defensive line, or an edge rusher. So we'll see what happens. I look for the 49ers' ear to be to the ground and for them to look for something. But I don't think it's a foregone conclusion either. I think that they did make the move for Keon White. I think he'll get better with more reps. I saw him out there, didn't really make an impact in week one. Wasn't expecting him to make an impact in week one. But I think that as he gets used to Chris Kasarek's defense, he'll get a little bit better. And now the 49ers need him more than ever with the injury to Mikael Williams, which, could hold him out for a long time. And, GOC says, I'm hoping they trade for a couple defensive end depth guys rather than one star. I think that's a good way to look at it. I do believe now that Cleveland Farrell is probably going to be one of those depth guys for the 49ers. I thought Robert Beal had a couple of opportunities in this game where he put pressure on the quarterback. I thought this was maybe his best performance as far as a pass rusher. I want to look at the run, see how he did there, but usually he's pretty effective there. And so I do think that depth-wise with Sam Okuwanu and with Keon White, if you did go get a top-flight guy to go with Bryce Huff, that would change some things. Do I think they're going to go for a top-flight guy? I don't. I think it's going to be somebody that's younger and, maybe gives you the opportunity to get after the quarterback a little bit. But if they did move, for Jalen Phillips or one of those guys, and I know Phillips is in last year of his contract, so that'd be a little bit interesting. But I do believe those guys would step in as a starter next to Bryce Huff, and probably base downs they wouldn't play as much, but it would be interesting to see. And I think if they did trade for two depth pieces, that would be motivational for this defense to go out there and get some things done. And I know a lot of people have been looking linebacker. I don't think they're going to trade for a linebacker. I don't think they're going to trade for a corner. I could be wrong, but I think they're pretty set, or at least they feel comfortable with those positions. So it's going to be an interesting week when it comes to the trade deadline and what the 49ers ultimately decide to do, because they're sitting in a position where they're in the mix. They're competing for an opportunity to do some damage if they make the playoffs. And right now, it feels like the NFC is just wide open. You've got a lot of teams that suffered some big losses today, and those things are going to be very pivotal to how the season goes. You get the Packers, they get a loss. The Lions they lost to Minnesota today. And so those were big losses. The Panthers are kind of coming on, and then you look at the division, 49ers at 6-3, Rams and Seahawks played. Rams are playing right now against the Saints, Seahawks playing later tonight. And so you got a situation where you're right in the mix to get involved in the playoff hunt and potentially make the playoffs. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. David says this, great stuff, Ant. Looking forward to tomorrow's show. I wouldn't mind adding another defensive back as well, maybe Taylor Britt from the Bengals. Good call. And, I said that I didn't think they were going to add a cornerback, but I did hear they were in on Taylor Britt, and they wanted him when they wanted to draft, right? And if the Cincinnati Bengals decide to sell, and maybe they're going to sell, Taylor Britt would be a great addition to the 49ers. You could put him at the nickel right away and start him over Upton Stout, and it would be an upgrade. And I like Upton Stout, but Cam Taylor Britt is an upgrade over Upton Stout. So that would be an interesting move, and that would be a lot of fun to see if they went ahead and made a move like that and did that. So, that'd be pretty cool to see, and I think that's a great suggestion from David. And this comes from GOC. Do you think Saleh using Nick Martin as an outside linebacker could actually work? I think that there's an opportunity if they put him, out on the edge that he could produce because he's so fast, mainly in the backfield. I don't think they feel like he's ready to read as far as defense goes instinctually and not make mistakes. They're having some issues with that. And I think he was showing how much improvement he needed during the preseason. But I love the speed, the athleticism, the way that he hits. I think that eventually he's going to be a stud. I do think that there's some looks you could probably put him on the edge and see what he could do. I don't think he's a pass rusher, but as far as blitz with twists and stuff, yeah, I think that would be interesting. And maybe at some point they do that. I like this too from Peter. He says, screw it. Get Max or Hendrickson. 49ers are in the mix now. They are in the mix. And I mean, if you're going out and you're getting Max, you're selling out, right? Like you're going all in on getting, you're going to have to give up an arm and a leg. I think it's a little bit cheaper to go with Hendrickson because he's in the last year of his contract. I don't think you have to give up as much. I think the 49ers would want to get a new deal with Hendrickson. The problem is he's going to want to get paid $40+ million a year, and you're already paying Nick Bosa, close to 35. Now, you could just trade him away and end up getting a comp pick in return in 2027. That definitely could happen, and it would be a high comp pick, that's for sure. But, I mean, that's one way to look at it. They are in the mix. They're in it. I think if the 49ers go and they get one of these big time players, they're feeling like they can win it. But I love the fact that we at least have the chance to think about it, right? Just go do it. Just go make it happen. Go get it done. Hey, why not? And that's what's going to be fun about this week. 49ers have the opportunity to go out and get some things done and potentially get involved in the trade deadline. But I'm going to head out. Thanks everyone for watching. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you're listening to audio platform, 49ers Cutback on Believe Network, please give it a 5-star rating. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Until then, stay safe. Remember, the right way is always the 49ers way.